Good morning.
Morning. Good morning. Wow, you're ready. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh.
Think to get people in. Oh, 24 participants already. Thank you. Somebody taking care of that. Thanks a lot. I think welcome to the party. We can get started. I know in the end we always have less time left. So, first of all, welcome. Today, what we're going to discuss is how can you choose your LLM. Uh, I think most of the workloads that you're dealing with now in industry are large language models. Large language models last year, if you were this time, you had one or two choices. I think only OpenAI models and maybe here and there some open source models. But now there are around 20 models that people are using in production. So choice, which is good for product managers, but it's always a challenge to choose what is right for your org. And that choice is a little sticky, that you make that choice once and you can't just move every day. So it's very critical decision for a product manager. Today we will unbox that, what it takes, why it is important, how we reached here, and we'll discuss some new things. But before I go, I want to give some time to Shilan to talk about few things. So Shilan, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll make it short, because I want to optimize you guys' time while learning. But we do have some important announcement. The first one being, as you know, the cohort is starting next week, so we are starting to wind things down. And the Maven promotion that like we give you earlier, it will be ending this Sunday. So if you haven't completed your payment or whatever, make use of that because it will make my life and also Habiba's life easier. Like it's ending this Sunday. So just use that. It's Marvin 100. We also put that on the website and stuff. And second is I just wanted to pick out on Nira because I think we talk a little bit on LinkedIn and welcome to be part of the cohort. And just while you're on the spotlight here, see whether you have like any questions and stuff. And we'll also leave time at the end of the for some questions because I already have like a bunch of questions already. So want to say anything, Nira? Meanwhile, you're here.
No, I'm pretty excited to take the course. Obviously, it's a journey, given the way that how fast the industry is evolving, and obviously, Mahesh is one of the leading experts out here. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. That's so kind of you. I think a lot of people who have already done the course, I think they are great. Yesterday, I did a session. Shilan invited me on some other forum. Thank you, Amin. Good to see you. I love people when they come on cameras because I can then talk to faces. I'm really good at, when I talk to faces. Sometimes I have this problem, which I'm having right now, which is I have two screens and I am talking to the screen above, and actually you guys are right here. So now I can talk to you, and now you can talk to me today. And yesterday I didn't had a good setup uh, on my on my board, and we did a session yesterday, so I thought we'll just extend that. I will revise sometime so people who attended yesterday, it won't be little boring. It won't should not be boring, but hopefully I think it should make sense for all of us. So let's revise what we did yesterday, but then we will extend the case study part. And most of the time, we will spend on case study today. The goal for today is to understand what we have done, what it takes for you to actually choose the right large language models. Obviously, every choice it's a later part of decision in a product manager journey. I will lay down the foundation before we go and make that choice. But before I go there, I have something else interesting to talk about. On the community page, if you're not on the community page, people should give you the link on the chat. But if you can see my screen, that would be awesome. Can you see my screen? Is my friend Harshal here? Harsha here? No, he's not. He just gives me tasks to do. He's like, he gives me work. I didn't miss my managers at all at Slack when I go. He's like, Mahesh, review this. Mahesh, go do this. I'm like, okay. So what he did today is he adds a lot of value. And he asked these two awesome questions I will just share. So one is, last time we were talking about, I couldn't touch a lot on the aspect of responsible AI we were talking. And then we touched on these idea that what can you do to be transparent about how are you building these models, or even if you are using somebody's else models, maybe you are adding prompts, maybe you are adding to converge that model to your needs, but your customer need to know that. And I think the standard practice to do that is something called a model card. So, and also it's a very good way for you to go learn. So if a new model comes out, generally if it's the model from Google or Facebook or open source, people like Mistral and all, I have seen a common practice. Hugging Face, most of the models, Hugging Face is a repository where people host open source models. But if you look at that, there's something called this idea of a model card. What that looks like is there they share all the details. I'm just going through the model card of Harsha asked this question. The question was, Mahesh, can you touch upon model cards? What they are, why they exist, and how can product managers use them? So, answer is model cards is a way for a company or a product manager to educate their customers and being transparent about how the model is getting built. So you need to share that information, and some companies will not allow you. For an example, when I don't know they will kill me for this or not, but when I was at AWS, we were not allowed to share a lot about something that you see the information in the model card, especially for the AI services. And that's a very good justification, because if you share that much, then your competitors can just copy you, or at least take the deltas, that how you trained your model, what data sets you have used. But if you're building an open source model like Llama 3, then you can go do that. Also, your model card is, there's no specification for these model cards. So you can include the things that you're allowed to do. The more you share, the better it is, because your developer, you're no more talking to general people. You're talking to developers as your customers. You're talking to researchers who are taking your model or taking your service and evaluating is it accurate or not, and doing those analysis. So for them, information like this is really helpful. So this is a sample of a model card. What it does is it texts you what the architecture is, how were the token counts they trained on, 15 trillion. Knowledge cutoff, this is the date when they stopped training. So knowledge cutoff in a large language model is this idea that they take data till that date. So if an event happened after that date, like if you ask this 8 billion parameter model, like who won the Super Bowl, or who won maybe IPL, or who are the three top teams in IPL right now, they won't be able to tell you that, because they know everything till March 2023, which is last year, this time. So you can see how much time it takes to train these models or tweak them, that it almost took a year. They stopped that, they didn't took any new data, and they release it now, like I think in April 2024 or March 2024. So that's that. Who can use it? All the licenses, what hardware, software they use to train this model. Now you can see 7.7 million GPU hours, and this is their carbon footprint to train this. What data was used, what benchmarking they have done. So this is what we talk a little bit in today's session as well. So you will see like what are the models they have used, what tasks it can perform. These are the key ones, which actually are the building blocks. Can it reason? Can it do general right understanding? Can it understand the language? Can it reason? And can it comprehend the knowledge? So language understanding is needed to produce, reasoning is needed to answer questions, and comprehension is needed to do tasks like summarization. And then they put numbers. This is their benchmarks. They took these public benchmarks which evaluates on different tasks, and they put their scores, how good they are doing. And then they talk about how they have gone around training it, what is the data, what are the ethical consideration, and that's it. And then there is a huge list of people. I know some of these, but hopefully I would be there one day. Okay. So coming back, so that's a quick idea on model cards. Happy to take any questions on model cards. There's one more question I want to take from the forum or Slack that people, or Harsha, of course, asked. But any question on model card before I go ahead? 3, 2, 1. We have a lot to cover. So good. No questions today. Thank you. Was there? No, no questions, right? That's rare. No questions, really?
There
Really?
will be, don't worry.
Okay.
Usually is, yeah, 15, 30 minutes in. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. So second is, should you fine tune or not? So on Slack, you have seen this discussion that is going on, which is around. So what happens is, if you got these large language models, these are large models because they are large in size. They are large in size because they have more weights and biases. People call them parameters, and you can use them as is by writing prompts and giving examples. So you can say, hey, prompt is write a CV for me for this job. By the way, here is the job ID. You give the job description and you give your CV, right? So that's one prompt, and these are the inputs. But you can also give some examples. Your examples can be for job, this job ID, Mahesh actually made me do these modifications. For this job description, this was my CV, and you have created many versions of your CVs anyways. So you can give these as examples. People call them shorts because we want to make things hard, but these are just prompts.
Mahesh, can you switch the screen because right now the blackboard is very small. Yeah.
Every time somebody says that, I just feel so grateful. Thank you. Please remind me. I always forget this as I learn. Okay, so these are nothing but examples. So the debate is, so the more examples you add, the better the results come. So the model gives you a new CV. And this is a proven fact that the more examples you add, the better the results would be. Now, instead of giving you, so there are these ideas around, zero shot, that you give no examples, few shot, that you can add some examples, and there are this many shots where you can give as much as examples. So there was the study or a paper published which talked about, showed that as they add more and more shots, like 500 examples to 5,000 examples, they saw model performance go from 5 to 20% better in accuracy. So the question is, if this is working, why people are still selling this new idea of instruction tuning, where you can actually fine tune this model by giving instructions and response pairs and create your own copy of model. So this model won't look like this is a copy, right? So this is your moat. There is this also, there is a moat because the moat is coming from examples, but here actually it's coming by fine tuning or training the model again. Still with me?
Yeah.
Good to see you, by the way. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. I was going to say, like, I guess, like, the reason you would do it is to impart, like, domain-specific knowledge, right?
Yeah. So you
Into
have specific knowledge, and the challenge is the how you do it is like there are two ways here, Parul. So one is you can pre-train the model from scratch on a domain specific knowledge. Let's say domain specific knowledge, just to ground it with a legal example. Let's say I have a legal contracting app. I go to a law firm. Law firm does not process generic contract. It only processes loan specific contracts. And they have, like, at this point, some million loans, and how human have processed or summarized those loans, which is key terms in a loan. So they can take that, and then their task is like, given a loan, you extract what are the terms of the loan, right, as key terms, like what is the loan, what is the prepayment terms, and all that crap. Okay, so let's say that's the use case you are going after. So what you could have done is added them as examples, 5,000 examples. This is a loan, these are the key terms, these are the loan, these are key terms. And let's say you had 500, you added them examples, you got good results. Some people are telling you to go fine tune. Should you fine tune or should you not? That's the question.
I think you
And
should. Sorry. Only because your context window is small. How can you fit 500 examples in a prompt? Right? And then you're increasing the time delay of sending and getting responses every time, right? So I feel fine-tuning could give an edge on that front.
Okay, so let's make teams, right? So Mohammed is one captain. We got, and it's a very good argument. What Mohammed is saying is, okay, Mahesh, you can give 5,000 examples, but every time you need to add 5,000 examples, here are two challenges that you have to add this loan agreement every time, right? Loan agreement every time, which is 200 pages. And then what is the response? Those 5 or 20 key terms that you want to extract. So, and if you want to add, forget 5,000 examples, even with a million context window, you could just add like 50, or I would say 10 to 20, given 500 pages is one contract. So one example has 500 pages, 10 example has 5,000 pages. Imagine one page has 100, you're already looking at some 500K context. And even if million context is what's possible today, so you can't go more than 20 examples. So you're saying don't do this. Do
Mahesh,
this.
there's one more point, I think, which
Go
is,
ahead.
yeah, which
Good to
is,
see you.
yeah,
Late in India, huh?
sorry,
Late in India.
not really late when we are learning something really interesting. So the point that I wanted to make is that beyond certain number of examples, probably model won't give you the next incremental refinement, right?
That is debatable, but you want to join which team, and we can talk about. That's a very good point. So, hey, is there a point giving 5,000 examples when 5 examples takes me from 80 to 90%?
Yeah.
And after that, I have seen nothing is gained. That's what
Yeah.
Achit is saying.
Law
That's a very good.
yeah.
Let me tell you a few things, right? So that's one. Actually, what happens in reality is this fine-tuning idea is a very popular idea. And I've seen people spend a lot of time in fine-tuning, including me, across different times and different companies. But what I've seen is this fine-tuning doesn't improve the performance and sometimes even downgrades the performance. Can somebody tell me why would that happen? So fine-tuning is a great idea.
Is it because you overtrain the model?
Yeah.
It's because you overtrain the model, and then
Yeah, it's overtraining the model. That's means it's really hard to overtrain these models, Patwa, because what will happen is these models are trained for a year, and no matter how much you will means even if you have money to train them, you will run out of data. So what happens is the other part, which is you will undertrain the model. When you do fine tuning, you will come up with 5,000 examples. This is a law firm which is in operation for 10 years. How many contracts you think they would have processed? They charge a lot of money. There are not enough loans getting processed. So you're looking at 1 million loans. And this is like, I'm talking the largest firm on planet, law firm use case. That also is not a huge data compared to what 15 trillion tokens looked earlier. So the patterns these models have learned in their pre-training, once you do fine tuning for the last few layers or you do instruction tuning to add to it, in practice or in my own example, in my own understanding or my own experience, it doesn't move the needle from X to Y. And also it makes it very, very rigid on those things that you fine tune on. So if you then ask a general question like, hey, I am starting loan agreements, but let's say you start building a Q&A bot, then you can't use the same fine-tune model for any other thing but these 10 terms that you extract. So then you have to go back to this model for general thing, but this will work 5 to 10% better on doing that specific job, but it will be worst on other jobs that you have, this model is proven to do. So if you do the same benchmarking, like reasoning benchmarking, that llama model that we just talked about in model card, if you do benchmarking of this on this model, then it will start performing badly on all other benchmarks other than the benchmarks you set up. So that's one disadvantage. Obviously, there are some advantages. Still, the practice exists. Still, people are putting money. So just be aware that exists. Second thing, There was a paper that we studied and we tried to solve that problem, that the moment you fine tune all the red teaming effort of guardrails this model had. So this model has guardrails, which is like doesn't allow you to ask bad questions. It doesn't output bad things. They have done a lot of work. All those goes away, even if you fine tune or instruct and tune this model on 5 to 10 instructions, because it just says, okay, the last layer is new and now I can do new things. So now you have to bring all those things back if you're going to enterprise and production. So that's added effort also. So these are few things that I want you to be aware. And there is a journey here. That's my only suggestion. My suggestion is that do not go into this fine tuning idea till you exhausted the idea of examples. And Anchit, to your point, it doesn't, the more examples you give, uh, the better it becomes, because your loan agreements are very different types. The things that you are trying to extract are very different types as well. So you're trying to replicate a partner level lawyer, and partner level lawyer has looked at very different way the loans terms are represented. The more examples, different kind of examples you continue to give, and in a law firm scenario, there will be huge deviations to get the kind of accuracy you are looking for. So it's not about the limitation on the model is not limited by number of examples. It's limited by what information you are putting in those examples. So if you have a whole team dedicated in clustering your loans, classifying your loans into different variations, even term wise, and then for each term creating different examples and then creating that pool, I would suggest, if you just come to me for recommendation, I will suggest doing this first before you go here, because this just opens up a plethora of other problems. And the improvements that you will get, this will beat at least for first 5 to 10%. But the major disadvantage, which Mohammed was talking earlier, is that you will continue to pay a lot of money to these providers, because now you are paying for every example that you have to go. So that's something that still we need to you need to consider as a drawback. There is like always these, pros and cons. So that's the thing that you are compromising on. I think this can be optimized by removing examples which are like kind of repeated and add no value. So that's one idea to do this better. This is right now where the industry is. This is sold as a moat. So the advantage of doing this is this doesn't give you returns today, but if there is a continuous loop from humans and learning from humans, and that's getting coded in these models every day. So they have lawyers processing these, AI doing it, and these guys are making corrections. And every month they go and train a model. The model doesn't behave super like accurate today. It's like 2% better, 3% better. If they start doing this today, in a year, they will be somewhere where nobody else can catch them. GPT-4 can 5, 10 cannot come after them. GPT or Claude cannot come after them. And if a competitor need to come after them, they need to go and do the same thing, which is retrain this for a 1-year cycle. So this is a moat building exercise. And I would only recommend if you have moat building money.
Mahesh, can I ask a quick question here?
Of course, Parul.
So
Raise your hands and then
sorry. Yeah. Okay.
After that. I think
Okay. Isn't there like an art? Isn't there like an art to implementation? So it's like you don't have to use your entire model every time. At some point, let's say you're getting thousands or hundreds of thousands of queries, you might have very similar queries, and so maybe you only need them for more things that are more unique. And then other times you could just do something matching with like a database of like existing queries, right? Like if
that's
like
really hard to runtime, right? So that yes, it's like looks ideal, but the challenge there is that you will run into is that you at runtime you have latency challenge also. Customer asks a question, you need to respond in a few seconds. If you want to go first classify this query into some kind of query, look for previous answers, then you have to check does that match or not. run that check on these. While you come back, the customer is gone. He's on some other website enjoying some other better example trained model. So it's like different things that you need to consider. But good idea. We do that for top like funnel, 5 to 10% of cases. You can cache things and you can learn from those caching. But I've not seen that in a lot of customer implementations.
Yeah, I guess I had the inherent assumption that if it's something where you need to reference 500 or thousands of other contracts, they're probably not at the top of the funnel. They're probably at the point of like actual use. It's not acquisition, it's actual use towards completion. So maybe there's a little bit more patience, but I understand what you mean.
No. I think you're right. The patience part is really true here, especially like if I give you a contract, how much time a human needs to process and give you key terms. It
They're
will
gonna
take
need
at
like
least
a few
an hour.
days.
Yeah, means let's say the lawyer says I need 4 hours for this. How like in real life how much in a day dedicated 4 hours a lawyer gets? Then he will give you 2 weeks time. So
Yeah.
it's 2 weeks versus for few hours. That's acceptable. But if you start processing them at scale, you will not have only one contract because you're no more have lawyers. You're like having 10 to 20, and at least overnight you want to process them. And the challenge that the I think the solution you were pointing is same as like will take the same time as giving examples. That's how
Got
I
it.
was thinking. So that
Okay.
world is gone, like with these models where you can cache things. I want to go to Parul, and then we want to really get started on the real deal today.
Yeah. Sounds good. So I was just gonna ask, like, is it a good idea to have different agents set up for different tasks, right? Because that way you might have one agent that can process like normal text and actually like contextualize the question better, but then another task that or another agent that performs well on like a super specific task, and then so on and so forth. Like,
Yeah, Parul talks like my engineering manager these days. So thank you. I think that's a very good idea. So that's exactly how people are trying to find best of both the worlds. So if you are trying to solve all these, the real solution which is getting into prod is that what you do is you take these. So let's say fine tuning is really hard. It's like we don't know, especially the base model keep changing. You trained on Llama 2, 6 months later, Llama 3. Now what should you do? All that kind of problems that you deal with. So the best part is, and I think Dadape also wanted to, had a similar idea, but he didn't say the word agents. So we get into another thing, but I think let's discover that. So now what you do is you use the same model, but you use different instructions. You say this model gets contract logistics. This extracts loan terms only. These extract payment terms only. And then I have another agent. I'm just putting them as round circle agents. And this is basically a checker agent who checks all this work. Right? And then you're training this one with a lot of examples. And these are going with less and lesser examples. And they are very specific. So the more specific you can make, the better it becomes. And this is the idea of deploying multi-agent specific apps. It's becoming the go-to idea these days in enterprise because of the reason that Parul was talking about, which is this idea that now you can be very specific and it removes the problem of 5,000 examples, because here I can give 500 examples which are specific for logistics, 500 for loans, 500 for payments. So my per inference cost is less. And then I have this idea of another one. But again, there are challenges here. First, this adds a layer of complexity because earlier a single developer would have built this system. Now you need at least three. Somebody needs to know who's who. Also, you need to train this guy. You need to evaluate all of these separately. The single evaluation which humans were using were not going to work because now you need to differentiate these and set evaluations differently. If you're going to put proxy agents who checks each one of their work, then you need an interface and coding of this multi-agent framework. So you need to understand their SDK. And at this point, it becomes an engineering overload. So go there also. I would say first go to examples, then go here, and then go here. Because here you're still remain very agile, very, uh, here you're very agile. You can pivot very fast. If the model changes, you need not to change anything. You can start with 2 agents and add more agents. Remove agents if you need to fire people and get funding less. So all this is preserved here. And it's also a moat building exercise because you kind of understand your workloads and you're building things here. So it doesn't build like real moat, but it's still better than anybody copying just your prompts. So it's kind of midway, and I would do that. Sham, go ahead. Maybe
A quick
today's session
question.
is all about this. I know it happens
Uh,
all the time in this community, right? We start with something and then we end with that. Okay, go
So
ahead, Sham.
here you're talking about one model, right? And these multiple agents for specific tasks. So is there a way where are there use cases where multiple models can work together for the same agent use case also?
Yeah. So what will happen is, in reality, what happens is people will use the very good question. So what will happen in reality is that you will train different models here. So I just can make it simple, keep it one. But if you have engineers, it's just every model change also requires a learning curve for your people who are deploying. Your evaluation would be very different. So keeping all those challenges apart, the ideal would be you will use a small model here because logistics you always get right. You will get a large model here because loan is what people are paying you for. And payment model, maybe there is a model trained by somebody on Hugging Face on just payments. So you can bring custom models also. So this is the right architecture for an agent specific app where you can bring large models sometimes, smaller models sometimes, and task specific models that you have trained or somebody else has trained out some specific tasks also. It gives you that leverage. Same was fine tuning, by the way. And it's that's how the architecture is designed. Ganesh did a session on this last time when we were here, where he showed this multi-agent no-code framework on Vertex AI, and there you get an option of all the models that are available on GCP. And I'm pretty sure Azure will be same. And I know because I built the agents for AWS. We were supporting only Claude models at that time, but you will see more if you ask them for their roadmap. Okay, I will be super fast on the other side. Chitali. I can't say no to Chitali.
Yeah.
So
One quick
like,
question.
go ahead.
So Vertex AI Agent Builder, I mean, we all elaborated and learned a lot. No code agent builder specifically. So I know about this Crew.ai. Which other? So does Microsoft and AWS also have no code agent builder?
Yeah. So Crew.ai, you have seen it. I think that's a very cool one. So I'm not sharing my screen, but let me share my screen because I need to share my screen real quick. So let's see that. Yeah. So Microsoft has this idea of Crew.ai. Can somebody send their agents.crew? Is that sounds bad? I looked at their GitHub. That was cool. But this is the idea from Microsoft. Look at this, Chetali AutoGen. AutoGen was there.
Okay. Yeah, I think I heard of, but I never used.
Microsoft AutoGen. Microsoft AutoGen. This is I did a session on this one like last year, and I talked about how they are. There was a notebook also we have gone through. The idea of proxy came from here. Oh, you're not seeing my screen. This is not fun. Now it's fun. So this is the AutoGen Microsoft Research blog. I think they are going to take it and make it. I think they have a no code, but please check and let me know. AWS does have a no code solution. So AWS agents, AWS Bedrock agents for Bedrock. My manager will kill me now, my earlier manager, because he kept telling me, and I keep saying agents. I keep saying agents, and he kept saying agents for Bedrock. Okay, but this is the deal here, and there is a lab here which they build, which was pretty cool. So I think there's a lab which talks about can you build it. So use that. I think agents. What is Bedrock? I don't want Bedrock. I want agents for Bedrock.
So this is again a no code builder.
Correct. No code builder. We did a lab on this also last year when we were talking a lot about agents. So feel free to check on our Slack. Somebody will point you to that lab and video. They have released a lot after that, but the idea is kind of same. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Agents. This is what I was looking. Agents for Amazon Bedrock. Okay, here is what everything you need to know. You just go to their portal. You just click on this, select, provide your instructions, select the model, select what RAG you want to do, and that's it. You click a button. You can add open. You can provide open API spec, and then provide your Lambda functions link, and that's it. And it's just click, click, click. Lambda function, of course, you need to write, but other than that, it's all automated, and you don't need a Lambda function. You can get started with just instructions and what conditions and what role you want that to play. And there are many like that. LangChain also released something which is no code. So look out for that.
A quick question. For the Bedrock AWS, is that free or do they charge you to use that?
Yeah, so there's no charges on the cloud providers I am aware, which is AWS and Cloud GCP. There's no extra charges using the framework. You are still paying for per inference cost of the model. So whatever model you use, that has an inference cost, but you're not paying anything extra on the agent side.
So if you use Llama 3, is there inference cost?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, there is?
Of
Okay.
course. You're using a managed service, right? Because they are hosting the model for you. They are going to pick up the phone if the model is down. They're going to scale the model up and down for you. So that's the cost. You can check the pricing of this. This is the pricing. You can check the pricing of every models here.
Oh, I see it now.
Llama model pricing is here, should be here. Anthropic, Llama, Cohere, Meta. This is the pricing. That's what you will be paying.
Okay.
Okay,
so
team.
can we save the questions towards the end because we wanted to make sure that we have time to get to the core and then time for questions.
Perfect. We have 10 minutes. Okay. I think we should be able to cover because this batch knows a lot. So I think the link to this is already part of the community. If you don't have this community slides, please ping somebody ping the slides. This is 11th May. Somebody was kind enough to change that date. It was yesterday otherwise. So the idea here is that what are LLMs? You need not to know that. If you need to know that, then we can discuss some other day. But the major idea is that, hey, we are going from using multiple AI services to a single large language model. Everybody agrees? I won't ask the questions. Please don't ask any questions. Just let me go for 10 minutes. Then we'll do a case study where you can ask questions. So yesterday I talked about this, that, hey, we are going from this idea of small models based AI services, which do one specific job, like doing translation, PII detection, object detection in images, to this world where a one large language model, and we may call it a world model, will solve all these problems, a single model which can solve all these problems. Today, a single model like that exists. It's called GPT-4 or Claude or Llama, which can solve most of the AI services and give you one service today. But if you use them, you are responsible for quality of all AI services. So if you use it for translation, they don't guarantee translation. If you use it for PII, they don't guarantee PII. But if you used a single service and paid for it, then you can file bugs and AWS will solve it. Here, you have to add those examples and solve those problems. They have limited context, which is what the prompt size, Mohammed was talking about it earlier. You pay for that also. Latency, me and Dadapia was talking about it just now, where we were talking about how much time it takes to get a response. Those AI services were really fast. Really fast means some millisecond was their response time. Here you are looking at minimum seconds, maximum 5 to 10 minutes also sometimes. So can you manage that? Also, if you parallelize these calls, then they will throttle you because there is a per minute limit that how much can you send to these APIs. Unless you are a special customer with a special dedicated clusters, which comes at a cost of like arm and leg. If you can't buy that, then you're going to go and you will have latency in your service. High cost, stickiness. So how can you solve it? So if you're going for uh, choosing a large language model for your organization, for your use case, the framework I use is, and this you won't find anywhere because I use it and I created it. But obviously, this means that there will be some ideas that I'm open for. But what I do is I understand and prioritize the needs, which is like these, which is how accurate you want the model to be, what is your timelines, what is the engineering talent you have, how much cost or how much budget you have, what latency can you take, what's your workload size, how much can you are doing per call to this model, and how frequently are you using. So basically your daily workload or your weekly workloads or your per minute workloads that you can push on these models. Once I have this information, the second thing I'm trying to learn is, before I make the call which LLM to use, I go and say, is it a Q&A, your major task, which the other PI and we were discussing earlier. Basically, you upload a loan agreement and you start asking questions. Second is, it is summarization. You upload a loan agreement, but you already know I want only these 30 terms in this loan agreement, and you want somebody to just go and extract those 30 terms from this loan. Or you are looking for a government of or a variety of these AI services. First, you want to upload a contract. You want to see if remove all the PII from it. Give me all the key terms in this contract, and then you want to check for certain things in this contract, and you have prompts for each checks, right? So that's the second thing I will do. Once I know what the loads are and what the main tasks is, I will go and start looking at what my options are. And let's say my options are large models, which are proprietary, provided by today Google, Gemini, Azure, OpenAI based models, and then cloud-based models on both GCP and AWS. So I have those as a choice. I have open source as a choice. Then I go and I look at these benchmarks. As you saw in Llama 3, same you will see at Gemini model card. You can actually see how good they are performing. But then you have to go to 20 places and check 20 places. What you also can do is you can actually go to their sites, and they give you these awesome model evaluators, which I listed here. So if you go to Hugging Face, this is their leaderboard. You can check task wise, model wise, who are the leaders in that particular task you are trying to do. So here it just talks, these are the tasks, these are the benchmarks, and this is like the model tasks. Was there a task here? No, MML, these are metrics. I'm looking for tasks, type, float. So this will tell you how fast the model can run. Model size, that tells you how much cost you are willing to pay. So you can filter on these. You can filter on how fast you want to be. This will be the slowest. This will be the fastest. Model type, you can say fine-tuned if you're looking for something specific in your domain. Metric through time, no. They don't give you task specific. That's a little sad. But then you can check like, hey, if Q&A is your use case, then you can check this one. If you're solving math problems, then you can check this one. If you're doing some reasoning based things, then I think Arc and Hello Swag, I listed what each one of these do. So you can just check here and see which ones are closest to your use case, and then their score, and then rank them. So that's the third thing I do. Once I have this, I just go through my own understanding of cost, time to market, and run few permutation, create few options, do like pros and cons on each. And once I have that, I run it by my engineering and my leadership. And then I put a recommendation, but let them override it or change it. So that's my 12 minutes of longest lecture I have ever given. But that's what we discussed yesterday. But it would be super cool if we just take an example and quickly go through what we just learned. That would be super cool. We can extend this to next session also. But I want to just do it and see if you can learn. But before I go there, I want to take 5 minutes of questions.
Actually,
Or-
1 second before, I mean, we will definitely have time for questions, but let me make some important announcement here while most of us are here. So first of all, a lot of people asking for links and also recording to the video. So, you know, we put together the LinkedIn community page for a reason. Follow that because you're going to, when we announce the next sessions and after the sessions, we're going to post the recordings and links there. And also get to know Habiba in the channel because she is an important person here. Like she has the key, you know, to all the materials you need. So in case you miss it in the Zoom here, go find her. And the second thing is just wanted to while I see some of the people are going to with us in the new cohort. There are questions, Mahesh, okay, do we have any pre-read? Could you tell me, give me an idea how is the lab is going to look like? Because people want to prepare themselves before they go to the first class next week. So can you share a little bit on that? Then we can jump to questions.
Yeah, I think people who are from the cohort, I think what I'm trying to do is release the first week. For the labs, don't worry about the lab part. I will be there when we do the labs. So this time, this is only you guys get that. First cohort is always special. It's not the first cohort. I think I didn't get access to my last cohort videos. So we'll do it again. But the idea is that I will do the labs with you and I will bring some of the experts from the previous cohort also. So we will make sure that you are successful and the instructions will be released with the lab. So you will have the instructions. Most of you should be able to self-serve and do it. But if you're not, I will be there to handhold and help and more people like me because I know these developers. I've done a lot of workshops for, and then one person can't scale because people start snatching their clothes. So I will have 4 or 5 people. 3 people will be assigned to one and we'll do it together. Let's see how it goes. We'll record that. So the next cohort, I need not to do it, but that's the idea around labs. 4 labs. One is prompt engineering, which we will do together. It will be an open, like no code way based. Then we will do a RAG based collab where we'll go through, set up your documents and actually process them, which can be done with no code, but I will show it how to do it in code also, because I think as you scale or if you want to try some of your customer use cases, it's a superpower as a PM that you can have, because then you can reproduce the problems and then give very, very specific tasks to your engineering, which is required because engineering doesn't know a lot in this new space. And if you just give them bugs, they give you some BS resolutions. So you can be really powerful. So I will enable you. It's an optional. All those are optional, by the way. Then we'll also look at fine tuning, which is LoRa and QLoRa based. We'll look at PEFT, what is parameter efficient fine tuning, which solves some of the problems we discussed here today on the board. That would be a lab only because there is no way to do it without code. And then we also build this multi-agent framework. So that's what in the labs, and we'll do it together. I will be there when you do it, and we'll give you instructions. So that's number one. Habiba is the most important person again because she has access to everything I have access to, and I spend at least some time with her every day to make sure she's empowered and she can answer all your questions. So please reach out to her if you need something, and obviously Shilan for doing all this, and Shilan is the backup for most of the things. And I just want to thank her for making this possible. We have more than expected people in the cohort. So I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And one more thing I'll call out. I think I might see Kushet here, who is a past student. We were in the same cohort. So we had that lab experience, you know, together. And it sounds like in this one, it will be an enhanced version. Kushet, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Chilan. Yeah.
You wanna say something like just in
No,
like
absolutely. Right. So, I mean, Mahesh was incredible in my, in the session that I joined. I believe it was November last year. It was focused on PMs. Really gave me some hands-on experience with the latest in technology. And I love the way that he sets up these different frameworks. And that's very important for PMs to understand the lay of the land and also get that hands-on experience. So I highly recommend the upcoming cohort.
So Kaushik, now I have to just give you all my background tips to give past the next interview, huh? Okay, team. But another thing that came up. See, it's really hard for me to do one-off session with all the community, but I have set up at least 30 minutes with every person who is part of the cohort. And if you have joined the cohort, uh, feel free to set that up with Habiba. If you have an interview coming up or if you need an advice, don't wait till like cohort. If I can help you now, please set up. I will be happy to set up more time later also. But please restrict it to your real interviews where I can definitely help and the existing material is not helping. But you always have that time with me. I can't really promise, but based on my previous cohort experiences, I continue to do that even after cohort. So just know that I will be here. This cohort is a way for me to allow you to do self-serve and like be super powerful and super enabled like an agency, but I will be always there to help, right? So some people, anybody like I know I've said no to no one, and I will continue to do that unless I start saying no. That problem doesn't exist today because we restrict it to only times when you have a call or when you something like already taught is not helping. But that's my goal. My goal is to help you achieve your next goal and not to teach a cohort or become a superstar like an influencer. Chilan and me are super focused on. Uh, if I would be very proud of this cohort or this community if we end up having a lot of people getting placed or start their own companies or write a book, whatever their goal is. So till that is achieved, I'm there. So that's the last thing I want to say. Got a little emotional. I wanted to get back to the course. But Achit, you have a question, and I know Sham, you raised the hand. So let's take questions. We'll continue this session in the next call. That's the whole idea. Uh, I just don't wanted to structure this call too much. I wanted to make sure we are serving. So
Yeah,
Achit, you go ahead. Sham, I think you also raised your hand. So let's take a few questions. Coming
sure.
back to what I just talked.
Thanks, Mahesh. So I was just curious to understand about this framework of choosing an LLM. Have you kind of tried using, let's say, GPT-4, asking about choosing an LLM for me based on the input requirements?
Yeah, you can do that, right? You can build an agent who can do that for you, but it's always becomes right, uh, because this is a choice you won't be making alone in your company. So
Yeah.
you need to understand a lot what happened behind the scenes. So there's a rational, there's a three order thinking, and these models are really bad at second level thinking. Second level, let's take an example. First level thinking is okay, if there is COVID, people won't be going away from their homes, so the prices of homes will go up. That's the first order thinking. Second order thinking is, oh, prices of the homes are going to go up, but the government is going to reduce the rates. That means that the that to get a home will be very cheap. That means that a lot of people will go and buy houses, but that means that it will stop after a certain time. And then if you're looking for a company which is 5 years of horizon, which is making 5 years worth of decisions, then there will be a medicine at some point, and then all this will crash, the company will not exist. So we are building a company for 18 months, right? So that kind of thinking is where product managers are needed, and that's the kind of questions you will get when you write this proposal. So you can use the GPT-4. It will give you some generic
Yeah.
answers which are good enough to get started or evaluate, but doesn't ground your learning. And you are setting your company at least for 18 months from now on this choice. I want you to think through that. So use it to assist, but don't make it judgment. Second problem with GPT-4 Turbo is it has no knowledge about last 1 year. And last 1 year is where you have seen the model from Databricks, from Snowflake, from Llama 3, from Mistral, for every model. 80% of models that are released are from last year, and GPT-4 has no clue because their cutoff date was somewhere in 2022 November, right? Or I think early 2023. So that's the real problem. So its answer will be hallucinated and fake. And if you take that and present it to your engineering, you might instead of getting points, you get lesser points. So you might run into a disaster. So avoid that and ground it with some framework and come up with your own suggestions so that you can defend and learn, right? Even if you make a wrong choice and somebody makes you do a different choice, you are learning, not GPT-4 Turbo. With that, Kaushik, you go ahead. I want to really run a case study, one case study, please.
Okay,
Kaushik,
I'll
go
make it really quick. So in one of the last sessions, you talked about responsible AI and Triple H framework. So in the framework that you just presented, right, how do you assess the problem when talking to clients, for example, which part of this will you insert that Triple H framework?
Yeah, so Triple H is once you have decided the model, right?
Mhm.
So this was, I think, the framework which you were talking about, where once you have decided the model, how to evaluate the model performance. So that comes a little bit behind, but you can front load it. So if you have the framework, you have already created that is the model effective, is the model honest, and this will return the benchmarks, that there are benchmarks for your specific helpfulness, because helpful for you means very different things than what it means for that law company, would be different for a marketing use case, different for a summarization use case, right? So bring up those, and if you have the metrics already, then you will be able to go and check those, the best model. But generally what happens is first you come up with what tasks, what metrics I want to go off, what benchmarks I want to go after, and here you are creating your own benchmarks. So this is very specific to you. What I was talking earlier is public benchmarks. So you're looking for some generic Q&A, generic math, generic Q&As, or truthful Q&A solutions. Sham, go ahead. So one
Yeah,
is like
so
before, one is after. Kaushik.
yeah, I had a follow-up question just on what you said. So from the public benchmarks, like, is there a thought process of how we create our own benchmark? Like, as a PM, is it just going after the use case, talking to the customer and getting a sense of, is it 20% accuracy or 50% accuracy? Like, how do we go about that? Because it's easy for us just to use public benchmarks as a number, but like, how relevant would that be to our specific use case for our specific customer? That's the thought process I wanted to ask.
This is a great question. So what happens is you're making a choice, right, of a model, and you have some 20 probabilities, and easily you can get to 3 or 4. And that's, we will just see with an example. But after that, you have two things to do. One is your own benchmarks, and that's mostly human evaluations. So you have some subject matter expert which come up with these across these, and you set up these human evals. You can also use things like coherence, like Blue Score or ROG, which is do nothing but basically takes the input and check the output against what ground truth you have given. And ground truth again comes from a subject matter expert, which is again a human eval. So you have the human evals, you are setting it for inside your company. So that's number one. That's how you set up your benchmarks, and you set it across these three major verticals, and in these three major verticals you are setting up across these 12 different things. So that's number one. Number two is, how will you know what accuracy is good enough? So your users won't tell you that. The law firm won't tell you. If you ask law firm how much accurate, they will say 100%. But then you say, okay, what is the error rate of the lawyers? Seems like 2 to 3%. Okay, what I am offering a scaled solution, which basically is 100x lower in cost and 100x faster. That means I can go to 5 to 10%. That means some terms I can be 100%, but few terms, if even if I am 5 to 10%, that's okay. But some other terms which are critical, which are very hard to guess, I can just bring human in loop, and that can still be run by humans. I can help them get the first answer, but there I can be even 60% wrong. So figuring out what segment of that needs 100%, and with time, your eval and your investment should be more and more people should move toward 100%. But in the beginning, if you can come up with where can you start, like even like 5 to 10%, you can do 100%. The rest you can do more and more. That's how it works. Can people extend 10 minutes? If you can, I would love to get this one scenario
Yes.
which brings it home. Awesome. Please stay 10 minutes. If you need to leave, please leave and watch the recording later. We'll post the recording. But let's say you have this framework And all these questions should have came after we have ran the exercise. So I'm going to just modify the exercise because we did this exercise for people who joined last call and they are here today. So I'm going to just modify this so it's interesting for them also. So let's say I will solve the first one, which we solved yesterday, and I have extended it because I thought I will have infinite time today. But let's talk about that first. Okay. So let's say the first use case I will do. So let's say you start a company, and your company basically what it does is it processes contracts of all kinds, NDAs, loan agreements, master service agreements, and it extracts 30 terms that are important. That's the job. And you did the first job of what the company wants from AI or what the solution should look like. Time to market is urgent because it's a startup. This year, they think that if they don't get funded in next 6 months, they need to go. They don't have money, so they have junior developers. They have free cloud credits, not GitHub. Free cloud credits, 100K. They have latency requirements in minutes because who cares if the contract processes take 5 minutes or 6 minutes? If the contract get processed in 10 minutes, that's okay. Their contract size is around 100 pages is average, but they never exceed more than 500 pages. Their workload today is they think that they can process 1,000 to 5,000. Like imagine like let's say what is 5,000? 50 contracts per day is what they are looking for. They are okay with 5 to 10 margins, even if they make 10 things correct, 90 correct. If they extract 100 things and 10 wrong, they think they can still make business and their customers will be okay. This is a good start for them. The model we looked at, we thought these are the options. Why we thought these are the options? Because we took away everything that was just recent and didn't had any data on law specific things. Then we also evaluated law specific benchmark. So there is a benchmark called law bench or something. Law benchmark from Stanford. Was there some bench was there? Law benchmark. Nick built it. Legal bench. This one. So we looked at this and we saw that, hey, which models they have evaluated. And we saw GPT-4 was doing a great job, but everything was tasks. They divided it all the law tasks. I go and checked which tasks were relevant, which is contracts. And they have some tasks. And I looked at the results. And I'm just taking hypothetical right now. I saw that every model did very bad, but these are the models which kind of did good enough. Also, there's no data on Mistral. So I just discounted it. I should have not. I would have considered Mistral. Actually, I did. So now I am doing this one. So these are left here. Mistral gives me an advantage on latency and accuracy, but Llama 3 kind of beats it. So then I was like, okay, why would I need this? So I took this away because latency is not my problem. So I'm just trying to show elimination. Then I said, okay, these are all closed source. This is my open source. Because I have free credits and I didn't care much about like hosting or training this model, I take this away based on my accuracy needs. Because I looked at the board and I saw the general accuracy Llama 3 never beats GPT-4 Turbo. So I said I want to be accurate. I don't want to take that risk, especially when I'm beginning. Also, I checked some of my competitors, other law firms or other startups, and they were all sitting somewhere in GPT world. So I wanted to be on par or better. So I made the choice. Mohammed helped me yesterday and he said some of these workloads can be go to 3.5. So what I did is 70% lowest hanging fruit key terms were processed by GPT 3.5 and highest 30% of terms in that contract were getting extracted from GPT-4 Turbo. Why we did mix and match? Because we thought same code base, just one line of code change, but that saves us a lot of money. Now we are like 70%. This is 20x cheaper or more cheaper, 20x cheaper. So I got 70% of my things done at 20x cheaper without compromising a lot on accuracy. And where accuracy mattered, I got it for GPT-4. So this is the choice we made yesterday. I went ahead. I said, now the startup went pivoted and now it's discussing with law firms. Now it just want to do loan agreements, which are 500 pages long. And now it's serving only law firms, because you start in AI, this is a common trend. You start with generic and then you see nobody's buying you. You cannot serve them with accuracy, and nobody wants to talk to you because nobody wants to fund you, because you're competing with everyone, because they will say, how are you different than a co-pilot? And you say, maybe, maybe I am different, but I don't know how. And same like Anchit asked me, why can't I just use GPT-4 Turbo for this? Or I have GPT subscription for $20. Why should I pay you anything? So then you want to be specific. So you went to a law firm only, and in law firm, you are only looking at loan agreements, right? So you are a specific boutique startup which want to eliminate law, which want to do the job or help 100x law firms which are agreeing in loan agreements. By the way, you also got funding. So now you don't have free cloud credits, you have $1 million worth of money, right, to spend on your infrastructure. Okay, your contract size has gone from larger is 500 plus pages, and 1000 pages is now your capacity. Your workload frequency looks like this. Your choices, I will give you some choices. You still have the choices that you have had earlier. Now you have another choices. Gemini has just came up, shown that this is a good enough model. Then you have Claude, which released their latest models. Claude large, small, medium. They also have 3 categories. And small. And then you have Mistral 17 billion, 70 billion. And by the way, yeah, so I want to stop here. This is the scenario we are doing. And you tell me, what should I go? What should I go after? First, should I change anything or should I just wait for GPT-5? First question.
Nope. Keep moving.
Well,
By
What
selection.
happens? We used to have this 90 minutes class, right? And initially nobody used to ask anything. Then next 30 minutes, everybody asked everything. And then last 40 minutes, people were just drinking or yawning. So I reduced it to 1 hour.
So when you have funds, you don't have to worry about saving the cost like GPT-4 Turbo and GPT 3.5, right?
Yeah,
Still you
but
can
even
maintain.
1 million is not like infinite money, right? Just be aware. But yes, that's true that that's not like your company will survive even if you spend a little bit more. But that little bit more, what are you going to achieve?
Quick question. So you mentioned Gemini got scores in the legal bench, right?
Yeah.
Is it specifically on loan agreements too? Because if that's
No,
the case,
no,
then
no.
okay. So we don't know. So we don't know that, right? But generally, GPT was good, right? So I guess your examples could be more refined. You already probably have some sample data from your previous iteration. So maybe stay the course. Even when Gemini 5 comes to online, your actually cost will go lower based on their trends. When they release a new model, the older model will go cheaper. But
but you're telling this,
yeah,
you're dealing with this
the
challenge,
question.
Mohammed. Let me, I love
Uh-huh.
like when we discuss these things because then the real things come up. But let me tell you a couple of more information and see if you change your mind. Because you're the only one who's going to talk to me. So let's do this. So the couple of things you also learned, Mohammed, in this journey while talking to them is that, let me just, I'm not sharing my screen, right? No, I am. Let's stop sharing. Let's just have discussion. So one thing you also learned is that they want to keep their moat, right? We discussed that. They have loan agreements. They want to be the law firm and they want to invest with you. They are investing in AI, not to just invest in AI, because they are scared 2 years down the line, somebody will take their business away. And that's why they're talking to AI companies. Will you still make the same choice? GPT-4 Turbo plus GPT 3.5. What is the advantage? What is the disadvantage?
Going with the latest one helps, right? Of course,
Yeah.
because
But what is the
because
limitation of the latest one? Let's say money is
But you
not
have to
one.
wait.
Money is one.
Yeah, waiting. Nobody wants to wait, right?
Nobody wants to wait. And second, the Claude model proves is latest trained, beats GPT-4, and is also trained on legal stuff. So generic stuff, not launch specific. And your competition, if go to Claude, is like able to go after law firms and prove that they are better than you on accuracy. Even if you have more examples, uh, you don't have law firms as customers. You never went to these law firms. So that's one challenge. Second challenge is, how are you going to bring them moat? How are you going to train this GPT-4 Turbo?
I'm not going to say embeddings, but but you're right. If the knowledge gets updated, then it's more recent. There's a potential more accuracy in certain areas, but that's potential, right? We don't know that, right?
So yeah,
So
I think you definitely, if I would be you, I'm definitely considering changing. So let's take that. Let's not debate. Let's say you need to get out of GPT-4 because two things: time to market, because others are also using your competition, other startups are going with the latest and greatest because they don't have a baggage of last year. They are starting and doing evaluation today. They are running that data today. And if you don't pivot, you will die. And there's not much pivot for you. So you are like, okay, I'm going to go what is the best today. I'm not going to wait for GPT-5. And even if it comes, I will switch in a day, right? What I'm losing. So let's say you need to go somewhere. If you need to go somewhere, where will you go? You have three choices. Let's say Llama 3. Sorry. Let me just make it complex.
well, you mentioned in the roadmaps of all these vendors, right? Gemini has the largest context window, so that's an advantage to start getting ahead
yeah.
on that front, right? The context window seems to be an advantage now and later.
Also,
If you
they
look
have
at the
told
roadmaps of other competitors,
yeah, couple of things here. We'll wrap up in 2 minutes. So a couple of things to consider. One is there are two workloads now. So will you use the same model or different models? That's what I want to know first. So one workload, they are saying, yes, we want to get the most accurate extraction of key terms. And second, they are saying is, by the way, we want to train our model. We are hiring you guys to give us a moat that we have, Mahesh, we have 50,000 contracts that some lawyers have actually did, and we did reviews, and these are highly accurate extractions. I want you to build that moat for me. So in 2 years, when everything become AI, I come as a leader, right? So that's the one ask, which is long term, where they're not evaluating, but they want you to be successful, or you want to show them something, which is fine tuning, training,
Yeah.
pre-training. So that's one. And second is, I want to automate as much as possible my current workloads and make my lawyers efficient. So two major requirements. Of course, there are smaller ones. With that, you have four choices: Gemini Pro, Gemini 1.5 Pro, Claude. These two are in closed source, where you have no control on the models. You have Mistral 70 billion and Llama 3 70 billion. Let's say you're not going to play smaller model games. You're going with larger models just because accuracy is paramount. Any
Do
choice?
we need to have both? I mean, one from Gemini and the other foundation model as a hybrid kind of approach?
Yes, you can have one open source and you can have one closed source.
Closed source, yeah.
Why would you do that, first of all? Because the
Because
drawback I
Moat,
can
like you said, the moment you start talking moat, then GPT-4, GPT-5, it's equal playing ground, right? No point in going that path and building the moat. So you need to go open source, go fine tuning, build the moat over time while keeping accuracy with GPT-5, such that you are maintaining your competency while you're building the moat and then switch over.
Great. The
And
answer
one
I
more
was.
thing, a legal firm actually came to me for a legal lawsuit summarization kind of thing, and they want multimodal. So they could also anticipate for this particular scenario other legal use cases which can also come up in this next 2 years because they wanted to excel, right? We need to also keep in mind.
Okay, let's go more deeper in this one. I won't discuss the larger model. I think you can take it as a homework, whether it's Gemini or Claude. We can discuss that some other day. But let's choose between the open source model we are using to build their moat. You have choices. Will you pick 13 billion, 70 billion, 7 billion? Tell me which one and why. And let's say, will you go Mistral or will you go Llama? First, tell me that. And if you choose
That
one,
again
why?
depends on the model card, right? Till
Yeah,
what
let's
have
say,
they?
yeah, what will you look for? Llama first, Llama, will you go with Facebook or will you go with Meta or Mistral?
Meta. I would
Wow.
go with Meta
Clearly
because
70
they're
billion.
Yeah, go ahead, Parul. Parul, finish. Why will you go with Meta?
yeah, because they're I have like more confidence that they'll be around in 5 years. Yeah.
Anybody
What's the
disagree with that?
licensing agreement? What's the licensing agreement on Mistral, right? Is that open Apache license or something like that? Or
Much nice.
they're
More
both
restriction.
open, so there's no limits on the business case.
Commercial use, you can do commercial use. Both are available on cloud providers
Both.
also. So you
Yeah,
can
except
just
for
pay.
700 million users at Meta, right?
Yeah. So you both have like options and both are quite stable. Stable means they have backing of cloud providers. So you can get them as APIs and you can pay per inference, which is not
Which
far.
languages are they covering? I mean, both of this
Sorry?
languages, because Mistral covers most of these European languages also, right?
Yeah. So your customer base is US, English only. Then what will you choose? That's a good point. I will check on
So,
languages. If there's a language, then I can make that choice better. Which one? Which one will you go
so
after?
Mahesh, yeah, I would
Right
say
now, let I know
Llama.
if anybody says Mistral. Go ahead, Kaushik.
No, sorry, I was just saying I would probably go with Llama 3 because it got released just very recently. So the
Yeah.
knowledge cutoff is pretty recent.
Yeah. So the knowledge cutoff is recent, English only. The company has a backing. Meta will be around. Mistral might be bought by somebody, which will say no more like free stuff. These are the major reasons to go after Llama. Okay, Llama 3. Done. I think it's a good choice. Now 7 billion, 13 billion, 70 billion. I don't think they released 13 billion, but let's say 7 billion or 70 billion. Which one
I
you
would
go
say
after?
70 billion because the context window is 8K. It's still small. The context window is still very small on all the Llama models, unless
Yeah. So
you
why would you
tune
go
in and
Llama
get it
models
bigger.
and not Mistral models coming back 32K, right?
Yeah, so Mistral, you get bigger context windows. That's
And
the,
why would you
but
go?
you sacrifice accuracy. So you
No,
gotta,
accuracy wise, they're
yeah,
not too far away, right? Mistral is doing good. Also, better
yeah,
latency. Better latency
uh-huh.
because the approach they used, which is mixture of experts. So they inference on 7 billion while they can process up to 23 billion parameter model. So why would you do that again? Like 7 billion
Llama,
or Llama?
Llama's still Llama for my fund because they're still working on the 400 billion model, right?
Okay, so you're waiting for the 400 billion model and you think it will be
Yeah.
free. So
Oh, you mean the licensing?
Yeah. I
Well,
don't think.
they proved over the multiple trainings of, I mean, this is again speculation, not an expert, but they stopped the training of Llama 70 billion and they said it could have been trained for more. They just redirected GPUs for 400. So it
Okay,
looks like there's room for training and customizing for that. That's my
we can
assumption here.
continue
But
this discussion forever, but we are going to stick to for smaller context. Are we gaining a lot? Like 8K, 500 pages of contract? Are we going to put RAG? Let's say we're going to put RAG. Okay, because there's no way you can get it right. With 8K context, you can't process a 500 pages, a single loan agreement. You need to pass the whole context. So let's say with every context, you will do RAG. So let's say context is not your problem. You still want to do Llama. Let's go to the next and last question for today. 7 billion or 70 billion? And I have one more thing I want to throw in the mix. Why would you go with Llama and not with Pi model from Microsoft, which is a 1.5 billion parameters and beats Llamas of the world on small tasks?
Oh.
Go ahead, Parul.
So I think that I would probably, it depends on like how many resources you have. Like 1 million is not a lot and GPU costs are expensive, right? So I think based on like optimizing for GPU, I think I would focus more on fine-tuning the RAG and fine-tuning the context like windows that I'm passing. And then I would use like the 7 billion context because I can train it easily. I can iterate on like a much cheaper basis. So cost should be one consideration.
Perfect. 7 billion because of the cost, because fast iteration, because most of the engineering time will go in refining the models and proving that it is learning. So you need to show faster iterations. And with the 70 billion parameters, you will be spending a lot of money, while even you can prove is fine-tuning working for your company or not. Is these contracts good enough for you? So you need to do a lot of iterations before you can even say, is it working or not? And choosing a large model just exponentially increase the cost, exponentially increase the time to iterate. So these are your factors, and because of these, you are going with a smaller model and taking a hit on accuracy, which anyways you are covering because you are taking the advantage of data, which Parul was talking through RAG, but you are basically training a lot of data, and 7 billion is a huge parameters to store legal specific information. So good enough. And yes, agreed. That's where I wanted to stop. But I wanted all of you to go back and think. I even think Pi would be the right choice. I didn't give you that option, so I'm giving you a discount of not choosing Pi. But Pi is better because same reasons. It checks marks all the things that you did for Llama, which is backed by Microsoft, gonna get it rated free, 1.5 billion parameters, even faster to iterate, even cheaper to do inference, and already proven to be working, and is also released like last month. So consider that if you are in a real scenario. So anything that requires training, try to these anything more than 100 million parameters is a very powerful model and can be tuned for any specific task. Super cool and beat everybody else. So do not go with like larger size. Optimize for higher speed of iterations, because your challenge is not the cost or time or money. Your challenge is actually, does it work? It doesn't work. It doesn't work for a long time before it starts working. And if each iteration or a training iteration takes you 2 to 3 days or weeks, by the time you can prove, some guy will come on take over. So prove it with 1.5 billion Pi. Get your foot on the door on these law firms, and then one day you can go to 7 billion if somebody proves it for you. That's the right strategy. Ganeshan, last word from you, and then I will say bye. I would
One last
love
thing.
to.
Sure.
Ganesh,
It's more of an
first,
observation.
and Kiran, please raise your hands if you have questions. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
Ganesh. Observation.
It's more of an observation than a question. It is an amazing 15 minutes. I've been just enjoying the conversations, and I really like this approach of discussion-based approach, where you are able to kind of popular myths are kind of getting resolved. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks. That's all you wanted to raise the hands for? I think, thank you. I think all of you are super cool. I love these sessions because I learn a lot through them. So go ahead, Kiran, and then Chitali.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for this, Mahesh. Quick question is that, so say, for example, we are trying with a closed model, and we are trying to build the moat, building on the previous exercise that you were talking about, right? Is there an automated way to compare the outcome so that you can decide switchovers? You can plan on when do I have that equivalency first, and then when am I building the moat, right? Not in a sampling method, but in an automated way that I can look through metrics.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. Like, that's an ideal situation. What I think, let me just rephrase your question. What you're saying is, Mahesh, I am going using GPT-4 Turbo, and I have a eval, and somehow I want to know one day how to switch between these two.
Yep.
Without doing any investment on open source one.
No. I'm running them in parallel.
Oh yeah, then you have your evals, right? You have your evals, which you will set up for your company, and whatever you set for GPT-4, you can also run it. But you don't want to do that because of the cost. it is not cheap. These are really expensive endeavors. So you don't want to run evaluation parallelly unless you have a goal and you have very valid hypothesis that the experiment or the changes or new data you have got or new prompt you have written or some new technique like chain of thought has come up. Unless nothing has changed, do not run evals just thinking that it will work or someday it will work, because even if these are open source models, the infrastructure need to run these are expensive. You're looking at $3,000 cost to run 70 billion parameter model if you want to do it yourself. So that's something to consider, Kiran, and that's why the option doesn't exist. But if you're a rich company, like if you work for a cloud provider, we do it all the time, right? We have evals and we will continue to run them. Meta will do that because they have enough GPUs in the world. But it's a luxury for the rich. So don't do it. It doesn't return a lot anyways. It's like, I don't know. I don't have even an example. It's like a Ferrari. It doesn't take you X to Y. It just shows people that you can go fast. Chaitali, last.
Thanks a lot for this excellent session as always. For this legal case summarization, which was I was asking earlier, they have a lot of these case documents which are multimodal. They have signatures, they have mortgage documents. So which model can be the best fit, or which model?
So Chitali, that will be a cost, but okay, no. I'm just kidding. I think in my own experience, what I have seen is GPT-4 Turbo is hard to beat. Claude, the latest we have tried and it didn't work.
Sonnet?
Claude, yeah,
Claude
Sonnet,
Sonnet
yeah.
or
So
Opus?
Sonnet, we tried at Claude too. So that time Sonnet was not out yet. I've not tried the latest one, so please try it and let me know. But right now, for law specific things, GPT-4 Turbo was like the go-to model at that time. And that since then, I have heard that Claude has done a good job. I didn't get to run those evals. But at the same time, you're not looking for really a multimodal architecture. You're looking for better document processing and
Yes.
first structuring them, and then you can use AI services to get the data out of images and signatures and all that. And then once you have the data blob, you can use an LLM model. So it's not really a multimodal model requirement. So just eliminate that and choose the best language model between Claude, largest, and GPT-4 or Gemini.
And most of the time, these legal firms have this data security concern. So do you use anonymization and de-anonymization kind of approaches?
Yeah, there what works is that you get the cloud providers here helps because they have this. They generally, if there are a law firm which is getting into AI, they already might have bought a cloud. So then you want to work with vendors who are ready to put their tech in your cloud. And in your cloud, you want to have a PVC, which is a private virtual cloud, and you want to do encryption at rest and transit. Once you have encryption at rest and transit, and you have a PVC, and you have let the vendor host everything in the law firm cloud or law firm PVC, their concerns have been taken care of because they have taken SOC 2 and already. So
Yes.
all that SOC 2 applies for their customers because everything runs in their same cloud cluster.
Thanks, Atan. It helps.
This was something I should charge for. Team, it was such a pleasure. But thank you. It was always good learning, and I hope we all continue to learn from each other. Please keep sending your questions on Slack. That brings us and never lets us finish this session on time. Shilan, last words. Say, Mahesh,
No, I think
you should
like
allow
amazing.
me to stop this
Yes,
earlier.
yes, I have to pull you away now because you have other appointments. But yeah, but thank you guys. And just like Mahesh say, please drop your questions on Slack. That is the reason why we have a community. We do monitor it and pick the most insightful or wow, super interesting questions. So we'll just stop there.
Also, please help each other, right? I see a lot of questions just marked for me. The community is between is a way for us to scale each other. So please answer, even if they are wrong. I'm there to help. So answer each other. At least share your perspective. Keep the community or the Slack discussions as healthy as this call, so that we need not to spend this call too much time. With that note, thanks a lot. Have a nice weekend. I will see you again next Saturday. We will have much more focused sessions starting next Saturday. I have a pressure of the cohort. I need to deliver a lot. So
Although
every time
quick word, next session, our community session will have to change time because the cohort is starting, which means yes, the community session will be moved to 11 because Mahesh want to prioritize his energy first and foremost for the class first. So
it's just like, I think that time works for the class more, and we'll find out a new time. We're thinking 11 or a new time. We will update on Slack and we'll revise the invite. So just follow the invite. We'll let you know by Monday what the new timing is to look like. Thank you,
Is
Shilan.
11 Pacific or Eastern? What time zone?
We don't know. We'll let you know about it.
Oh, okay.
I don't decide yet.
yeah.
It will always be, my timings are always PST.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, team. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.